Legends Week continues today. It's day 3, isn't it?
Yeah.
Technically. On Monday it was Keith Richards. Yesterday it was Johnny Marr. And today I'm joined by a man who really single-handedly revived homegrown guitar music in this country when his band's debut album came out in 1994. Shows in Main Road, 2 in Nebworth, galvanised the status as behemoths. I think that's what the Americans say. And now the lad's gone solo, of course, and confounded the critics by smashing it into the car park with his first solo album. Here to join the pantheon of legends, it's Noel Gallagher. Good morning, Noel.
Thank you very much. Didn't know Johnny and Keith have been on.
Yeah.
What was Keith like?
He was incredible. There is a picture, you can't see, it says Claire Slevin missed call, actually, but you can just about see me and him there.
Oh, he looks mental, doesn't he? Wow.
Oh, it was...
Have you read his book, though?
Yeah.
His book's fantastic, isn't it?
It's an incredible read, isn't it?
It's brilliant. I kind of had... Because I never really bought into the myth of Keith Richards. You know, all right, and he's come up with a few riffs, aren't we all? That was my attitude. But reading his book as like, oh, wow, he's kind of like... He perceives music the same as like a fan does, do you know what I mean? He's great, and I love his attitude. Doesn't do it for... It's like he's still going for him, not for, you know, for critics or... You know what I mean? Doesn't do it for you, does it for himself.
We mentioned Keith and Johnny Marr. I wanted to quickly get your handle on that, because I've read interviews with you in the past, and you've certainly talked about how Johnny Marr was a big influence on you. What was your entry point with these geezers musically?
Keith Richards, well, I mean, you know, it's like with the Beatles and the Stones, is when do you ever first start listening to them? They're just omnipresent in your life if you're our age.
Yeah.
The Smiths, I remember being like touted as, you know, this band from, I mean, obviously they're from Manchester, where I'm from, and reading about them in the evening news. And I remember their first Top of the Pops, and I immediately went and tried to get that Johnny's. I played, you know, the big red semi-acoustic guitar, and he had the turtleneck and the shades, and I was like, wow, you know, I was a proper fan of the Smiths, still am. But Johnny's not only been he's not really an influence in the way that I've written songs, because you can't write songs like him and you can't play guitar like him. He's completely unique. Yeah. But as a person, he was great to me when I was first starting out. He's another guy that his perception of music is brilliant, and he's a good lad. Yeah. And he's funny, and he's brilliant, and he wears impeccable shoes, and he's got a great haircut.
This is this is the new BBC. This is a pre-recorded. This is a pre-recorded interview. Do not try to call in. You cannot win any prizes. But you know, by the time this goes out, you will have just finished your mammoth stretch of touring and of recording. So seriously, is that what it's going to be? Are you really going to go pipe slippers, grow a beard for a while?
I'm going to take voluntary redundancy and maybe grow a couple of beards. I like to get as far away from it as possible when I finish touring. Because it's so full on when you're doing it. There's not just only the gigs, there's all the other stuff that goes around it. But when for the next, well, I don't know when it'll be, but you kind of just wait for some kind of call from somewhere, creative call, whether it be the elbow from the wife, which it was last time.
Get out of the house, man.
It was. I mean, she didn't say it in as many words, but that's what she meant. You know, when are you going to go back in the studio? I'm like, well, I don't know. Do you know what? You get that over breakfast, that one.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, maybe tomorrow then.
Yeah.
You know, but I'll wait for the nudge from Sarah for when I attempt to make another record, I guess.
Are you always, speaking of the great Keith Richards, you know, he talks about the antenna, you know, he's sort of, the way he sees it, it's, his antenna's up, and he's just catching riffs and catching pieces of music. Is it always coming to you? Is it?
He's got it, it's true. I refer to it as a British guy as going fishing.
I see.
You know, so you just kind of, there's all songs and they're just flowing through, you know, the river of life, and you just, you know, and your guitar is your fishing rod, and you pick it up. Some days you get a catch and some days you don't.
That analogy works perfectly for me as well, because in my fishing career, I only ever caught one perch, and it was about 6 inches long, and I just didn't know what to do with it, so I just pumped it straight back in. That's a lot like my songwriting career.
You might want to go and redefine the word career. Yeah.
Thanks for that. But you haven't heard the cheddar cheese song yet. I'll leave that till later, okay. But back to you and back to the present. Because I saw you guys at the Isle of Wight Festival, and I don't know what I was expecting of you live, But having heard the album and you know, like the songs on it and stuff like that, I thought, yeah, this is going to go well. I can see how this is going to, you know, the big melodies. I understand this, but it's very muscular live, and a lot to do. Is it Jeremy, your drummer? He comes on with the Bonds, the John Bonham sort of.
Well, yeah. Well, how that came about was people sometimes accuse me of having no sense of being a bit grumpy, and I'm like, he was my idea, that, you know. And Jeremy, with the best will in the world, he suffers from an image problem. He's a great drummer and a great lad. Daddy Pig, we call him.
Daddy Pig.
Or Ringo Starving. And we said, you're going to have to sort something out. Cause I wasn't mithered because he played on the record, and when we rehearsed, and I wasn't bothered until we'd done a French TV show.
Did he just not look the part? To be honest,
no,
he didn't, did he?
No, he just.
Why was it all jumpers and chords? What was the thing he was getting wrong?
No, he's just not interested in that kind of. No, but it's like if people like me or you, for instance, if they say, well, this is going to be on the website, you're kind of smart, and you say he's not bothered about that, Jeremy. He's just bothered about what he's having for lunch. Do you know what I mean? And where he's going for dinner. So after we'd seen this French TV show, and I'd watched it back, and I thought, hang on a minute. That's got to change. I don't know who mentioned the John Bonham thing, but I leapt at it saying, yes, great idea, yes.
White boiler suit.
Yeah.
Black hat.
Bowler hat,
yeah.
Does look a bit like Stan Laurel, or is it Oliver Hardy? I don't know which one it is.
He looks like a cross between Oliver Hardy and a member of the Clockwork Orange.
Yeah.
But is it true that you kind of turned down performing at the Olympics, didn't you?
Not for any symbolic reasons other than it went on and on and on and back and forward, and they wanted me to mime, and I wasn't really into it. And it was miming the music but singing the vocal live. So I was like and I thought, no. And then there was all this secrecy about who was going to be on the bill and all that. And in the end, I thought, if I do it and it's rubbish, it's there forever. Whereas if I don't do it, I'll just get a night off anyway. I'll watch it on the telly, do you know what I mean? And then they said, well, look, they'd choreographed the Wonderwall bit into this whole thing, and they said, well, we're going to ask your kid to do it, if that's all right. I said, cool, man, I'm sure they'll be up for it. But it was great. I watched it on the telly, and the whole 2 weeks was amazing. And you were in the stadium for Mo Farah and stuff. Oh, yeah, for the second Saturday when he won the 5,000 metres, and the Jamaicans won the relay, and it was brilliant. And it was comedic, some of it, and I really enjoyed it. For the first 10 days, you didn't realise it was all just out-of-breath swimmers getting out of the pool going, well, I gave them my best. There's a lot of I went these Americans are fast, aren't they? And it was just like watching rubbish swimmers for a week, and then it kicked in and it got really great. But yeah, being in the stadium that night to see the crowd react to Mo Farah was really unbelievable. When he crossed the line for the 5,000 metres, my missus had tears in her eyes, and it was truly great. Truly great. We've got much more to talk about here with Noel Gallagher, of course, and Legends Week, but I want to break for an Oasis track, and I wanted you to guide me as to which Oasis track you would like to hear in the midst of our interviews. Is there anything in particular? What would I like to hear? I'd like to play for the people a track called Idler's Dream, which is the B-side of Hindu Times, which I've only played it once. By this morning, I will only have played it twice in my entire life, which was last night in Houston, and last night in Shepherd's Bush, and the night before in Houston in Texas. Well, I don't think I've ever heard this. No, and I'd kind of forgotten about that song, and I met a guy somewhere, a girl somewhere, who said, why did you never play that song? And I couldn't vaguely remembered it, and kind of went and listened to it, and I thought, well, if that's not one of the best things I've ever written, I don't know what is, and kind of working it out in the sound checks, and I've played it, and it went down like a knackered lift in Houston, I've got to say. But I'm imagining last night at Shepherd's Bush it was received rapturously. Last night, no, it went. I know, because I was there, because you invited me, and then of course we're not here now. We're on the booze, but it went down massively. Yeah, well. I thought it might. Well, let's have a listen to it now. This is Idler's Dream. You must internally sigh at this point, but of course, you and your brother, I mean, it's like me and my brother, or any brothers, there's ups and downs. What's the situation? Does your mum ever sort of want to clap your heads together? Yeah, she always mithering about it, but like, I'm 45, he's 40. It's like, not like me with my two lads.
Yeah.
You know, give him his Darth Vader mask now. You know, it's not like that. You know, it's like he's doing his thing, I'm doing my thing. Do you know what I mean? But we texted each other at Christmas.
Okay.
And yeah, I seen him at a party after the Olympics. He done the usual, which is hurled an insult at me and walked off, which was kind of par for the course. There's nothing new there, but it's all right. It's all good.
It's a term of endearment almost, really, isn't it? It's sort of a way of showing love.
Yeah. You know, it's just like it's like a squeaky toy that swears a lot.
Is
a blazer.
Is the story true about the bottle of milk and the spoon? You remember, you know that all of us aspiring upper middle class people know that if you have a bottle of champagne or Carver, if you're on a budget, if you put a spoon in it, then it
spoon or a
keeps it
fork
fresh.
in it,
It keeps.
And we were round at his house one night, and was he round at ours? Anyway, I can't remember. There was. Why have you got a fork in that bottle of champagne? Because it keeps the bubbles and keeps it fresh. Then a few weeks later, we were round at his house and we opened the fridge door and there was a spoon and a pint of milk.
It's no wonder he hurls insults at you, though, is it? It's my fault, though. I shouldn't have asked, really. Going back to the olden days, really. Now, do you ever look back on your journey as they say in X Factor, that horrific program, and sort of shudder at what might have been? Because you kind of, if I remember rightly, you were working for British Gas at some point, weren't you?
I was working for a subcontractor that worked for British Gas. I was sent to the gas yard to get some, they were sealing up some gas main and get an end cap, they were called.
There you go.
And the JCB that went to pull one out of a big pile, there was one of them landed on my foot anyway.
Smashed it up.
But it was a blessing in disguise because I think it was 2 months sick pay. It's now better than sick pay.
Correct.
And then came back and they put me in the stores. I couldn't work then because I might have exaggerated the limp a little bit. They put me in the stores to alleviate the boredom of the long days. I'd bring my guitar to work. So that's where I first started working on, like, Definitely Maybe. Not thinking I'm going to work on this record. That's where I first started messing about with the songs, yeah.
And so, do you get that feeling sometimes of? I mean, obviously there's a great deal of talent, but you really need an element of luck to get your head above the parapet. Do you think, oh God, what?
You know, you can't make people buy records. It's not. I mean, it's not lucky that, you know, I've had so many hit singles. That's not luck. But to get your foot in the door, you know, you need a little bit of hocus pocus going on somewhere. You know, it can't because if there was a set of rules for what one does, you'd all be rock stars.
Exactly.
You know, then where would we be? Eh?
I know.
You know what I mean?
The last thing we need, isn't it? We've got enough of those people. The Stone Roses, of course, came back this year. One of, I think, our favourite bands of all time.
Yeah.
Did you see them? What did you think?
I did about 5 festivals with them.
Oh. I saw them at Heaton Park, and I wanted to see them again, but I couldn't get there. But
yeah, and out of the 5, they were truly great twice. I mean, they were always very hit and miss, anyways, as a live group. I've seen them 2 times, and I've seen them 5 times. They were great. 2 times, they were really, really, really great. It was just great to see them, but no one ever thought you'd ever see them together again. You know, because there was a lot of animosity there, as I remember. Manny, bless him, was always trying to drive it for years, and saying, "Come on, before we go bald," kind of thing. You know what I mean? And for whatever reason, I don't know why. I don't know what was the kind of the defining moment that made it happen. But it was great, you know, to sing along to She Bangs the Drums and it not be at a disco somewhere at 3 in the morning, do you know what I mean? But it was brilliant, and they all seemed, I mean, they're carrying it on next year, aren't they? They're going for it again, so obviously their relationships haven't suffered. It would have been worth it just to see Rennie, to be honest.
Oh, God.
You know.
That was... I don't think I've ever been as happy in a field in my entire life, just dancing.
But the thing about that band is they're all playing lead, right?
Yeah.
So there's Manny, John and Rennie, and if one of them's, they're like the Who, if one of them's having an off night, it all falls apart. But when you catch them on a great night, honestly, it's something else. And twice out of the 5, the 3 of them were bang on it. You know, and some nights, even back in the day, you'd go and see him and maybe John wasn't on it, or one of them, and it's like the Who, you know what I mean? If Keith Moon's not on it, it's rubbish. If Pete's not on it, do you know what I mean? And they're like the closest thing to a musical Who that I've ever seen, anyway. But the 2 nights, one night at Benny Cassim, was a great night. I was on just before them. I didn't go on till 1. They didn't go on till 3. It seemed like every character from Manchester was in the backstage area. You know, it was brilliant seeing the Sun come up together, talking. Ian Brown said the funniest things was before they went on. We were in the dressing room and we were waiting for them to go on, so we got the iPod on and Fool's Gold comes on. So Ian comes in and he's, it's going to be great, it's going to be great. And he went, so he looks down at the iPod and it's Fool's Gold and he goes, it's not going to sound like this, I tell you, mate.
Don't expect too much.
We're going, it's going to be great, innit? And he was going, it's not going to sound like this, so.
Set your expectations down a little bit. Yeah. But I mean, that's an interesting thing about chemistry and about bands, and you're right, they are like a bit like Zeppelin or something like that. They're all big players, aren't they?
Well, they're the great bands, are the ones that have got the invisible fifth member. Yeah. You know what I mean? They're kind of like when they're on it, there's something else happening. Do you know what I mean?
Did you ever feel like that with Oasis?
There were some gigs where you think this guitar's playing itself tonight, you know, and then there are some gigs where you think, I really should start taking lessons. I don't know what I'm doing here tonight. But yeah, you've got that. And then the most incidental of crazy little gigs, you know, the big gigs are never the best because there's too much riding on it and you may be trying a bit too hard. You're trying to sum it all up and it's too big. I don't remember Nebworth being so big. It was just like, you know, I don't know. But then you'd be playing some odd night in like Kentucky or something. And you'll think, this is the best we've ever played. Look at you people. Idiots.
It's wasted on you.
Yeah, totally.
Should have done this at Nebworth.
Yeah. But I remember...
I was there at Nebworth and it was brilliant.
I think one of the big monumental gigs we did pull off was the Main Road gigs, I think. We were peaking then. I mean, there was peaks and troughs in Oasis all the time, but I think that was a peak of sorts. Because it just hadn't got too crazy, you know what I mean? That was... And I think back on it now, it's like we were doing, you know, we only signed a record deal in 94 and we were doing a stadium in 95, you know, less than a year. You know, it went from supersonic to some might say, and we were selling out stadiums, 2 nights in stadiums. It was magical, but if I think back to it now, youth carries you through it and you're just not petrified about it. Do you know what I mean? I remember doing this and, you know, saying that the O2, it's only been 6 months, so I don't know about that, you know. And but I remember then just thinking it'd been the most natural thing in the world, you know, and rocking up at, you know, at Nebworth and just thinking,
I can do this.
Yeah. Where's the stage going to be? Where's the backstage bit? We're going. All right.
It is incredible to think back to that just as a punter, because it's such a weird. There's a big dip in it, and if you're standing right at the back, it's like it's in a different county.
Yeah, well, yeah.
You're playing that, you know, it's just completely and we must mention that it's 18 months or so off. And again, I apologise in a sense for asking this question, but we're off the 20th anniversary of Definitely Maybe coming out and stuff. What do people always ask you about what would happen, or, you know, people would always expect you to get back together, and everybody does in the end. Do you feel that, or do you just think?
Well, I don't. I mean, I've seen everybody from the band recently, apart from Andy. Everyone. Nobody mentioned it. As I understand it, BDI are working on a new record. I've just come back off tour. I can't speak for anybody else, and I don't want to sound callous towards Oasis fans around the world. But it's just that, I mean, they have to understand that we lived it. We did it. And it's not enough for people to email in and say, oh, we think you should do it. That's not enough for anybody in the band. Do you know what I mean? There's got to be, I guess, people that would have to. I don't believe that it could ever match up to what it was. Yeah. Saying that, I'll go on record as saying if I'm ever skint, I'll do it. Yeah. But no qualms about it. You know.
Well, you won't have heard this, no, of course, because you'll be still out irresponsibly drinking after your last night before your semi-retirement. But what I can say is it's been great to have you as part of our pantheon of legends this week.
Who's on next?
Chris Cornell of Soundgarden tomorrow.
Now, come on. Are we not going to rebrand this?
I knew, well, as soon as I said that, I knew that you were...
A legend? To who?
That's not fair, that. You see, because a lot of Soundgarden...
poll on the website here. He's not a legend.
64046, yes or no. It's all right, because I've pre-recorded it now, so Chris can't get upset.
All right. Oh, who's after him?
Well, this is interesting. We think, because he tweeted us today, that Graham Coxon's going to come in on Friday.
Top man, Graham.
Now, what a great guitar legend he is, isn't he? And you've toured with him, haven't you, recently?
I've done some gigs with him recently, yeah. He's a staggering guitarist, very underrated. But his band, the Graham Coxon Band, or whatever they're called, have you seen them?
Yes.
They're amazing.
They're really, really brilliant, aren't they?
Loud. The loudest thing I might ever have heard. And he's an eccentric mod.
Yeah.
I do like him.
They made up so much stuff about the animosity between you guys in the nicety, but it's nearly all nonsense, really, I suppose, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, both camps, I think, didn't mind playing up to it. I'd met Damon a few months back, and we were kind of saying, you know, sorry about all that, but both going, was great though, wasn't it? It never happened since the Beatles and the Stones kind of thing, and it's never happened since, and I dare say it probably never will happen again, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And, you know, we were kind of looking back on it thinking, it was great. Yeah. And out of that came that last explosion of bands when the Libertines and Razorlight and the Arctic Monkeys and Kasabian all kind of seemingly came along at the same time. It's because of that, you know. Some ludicrous things were said, but I would hazard a guess that most of the words were probably put in people's mouths, you know. But it's fine now.
But for now, he's still intact Legends Week and emboldened by the presence of the wonderful Noel Gallagher. What can I say except thanks for coming in, mate?
Well, thank you very much, and it's nice. This will be my last public speaking for a while, and you know, thanks to everybody that came to the show last night. Brilliant.
It was great.
It was brilliant.
Especially
Thanks for clapping at the end of Idler's Dream, giving
Idler's
it the rapturous.
Massive,
yeah, it's the only second time I've ever played that. Yeah.
And I can say is thanks for buying me 2 Jeroboams of champagne at the after show party, which I was not expecting.
Mate, it would have been rude not to. Thanks for stripping down to your leather undies for that bet as well.
Touche. Noel Gallagher, thank you very much.
Nice one.